prohibited ancient technology, which is not allowed to exist, and for that reason is being kept hidden. In this case, we're talking about optical technology. Technology forbidden when you're not allowed to keep it in the open. It's easy to ban the existence of antiquity, ancient technology, because all you could do is deny it. Applying the ban simply means that you have become a deaf, mute, and blind, and most have absolutely no problem doing all three when it's needed. Robert Temple discovered an avalanche of clues that revealed the existence of an amazing ancient technology that's veiled and truly forbidden because it shows that our ancestors were not technologically advanced, and if we all recognize him, his work, his technology, the technology of the ancients, that is, means that they were not illiterate. The technology of visual science. More than 450 ancient artifacts have been found in museums all over the world. Most are lenses, and in addition they are magnifying lenses. And we have evidence of Egyptian mummies being buried with their glasses. Magnifying glasses. They looked like the glasses that we wear today. In other words, they had a type of a skeleton holding the lenses in front of the eyes, and the skeleton would then rest over the ears. So it looked very much like the glasses that we have in use today, which many believe have just been recently designed. Now, this ancient technology of visual science has more than 450 ancient artifacts. The science of optics, ancient lenses, found in Egypt, Crete, Greece, Vikings. This is a book written by Robert Temple. The title of it is The Crystal Sun. And this is where we have the cover of this image of a 5th century pottery design of a man holding a telescope looking at the sky. Obviously you need lenses in the telescope, magnifying lenses, and this is exactly what we have the image of. This is one of the lenses here. As you can see, it magnifies the letters very nicely. It also is evidence that the very delicate work done by jewelers that we see in the ancient jewelry of Greece and Egypt, for example, the very delicate, very minute work was done using magnifying lenses. Even recently, a dagger found from the old kingdoms of Egypt had markings on it that could only have been made by artisans using magnifying glasses, because in order to read what the tiny writings on it said, you need a magnifying glass to look at the writing. Now, according to Astronomy Trek, concerning telescopes, ancient telescopes and lenses, this is by Peter Christoforou on Astronomy History. Over the years, the archaeologists discovered the greater numbers of ancient lenses, hidden in museum drawers, kept away from the public for most part. Historians have more references to their use in ancient times, so that inevitably it's being asked if they were then able to use them for astronomy purposes. Obviously, they should have been able to, because what was the reason for creating the Antikythera device, which was a device, it's in the Archaeological Museum of Athens, and it's a device basically as big as a laptop in a box. And the use of that was it was a clock for astronomy to time the movements of the constellations. So how did they know of the constellations? Obviously they must have had telescopes to watch their movements, and then they went to the trouble of creating a huge computer-like clock to time their movements. Can you imagine the study that went into that? Obviously they must have had not only portable telescopes, but maybe even larger telescopes with even larger lenses, magnifying lenses. Now, the history of the lens, according to Roman historian Pliny, glassmaking was discovered accidentally by the Phoenicians around 5000 BC, that is, over 7,000 years ago, while cooking on the desert sand. But the earliest man-made glass objects were found later, around 3500 BC, in Egypt and Mesopotamia. Lenses no doubt being made soon after the discovery, because of the accidental discovery of finding how to make them. The earliest known lens currently unearthed is the Nimrod lens, about 750 BC, found in the Assyrian palace of Nimrod in modern-day northern Iraq. It was believed to have been used as a magnifying glass or as a burning glass to start fires. Lenses were well known by the time of the Greeks, and even the dramatists. Aristophanes referred to them as in his Comedy of the Clouds in 424 BC. Strepsiades says, "Have you ever seen a beautiful transparent stone at the druggist's with which you may kindle fire?" And Socrates says, "You mean a crystal lens." So there you go. Now, uses of these early lenses included starting fires, cauterizing wounds, with the use of the solar rays, of course, although their magnifying properties would obviously have been known. But in the 1st century AD, we find the first written record of magnification, with the Roman Seneca the Younger explaining, "Letters, however small and indistant, are seen enlarged and more clearly through a globe or glass filled with water." And we also had ancient telescopes, of course. The most powerful ancient lens discovered yet was found in Crete. It's dating back to the 5th century BC. It had the ability to magnify clearly up to 7 times and even as much as 20 times, albeit with considerable distortion. It had been suggested that a piece of Greek pottery discovered dating back to the 4th-5th century BC depicts a man using an early telescope. And that means that ancient people were able to connect 2 lenses inside a simple tube to make a crude early telescope. Oh, I believe it must not have been that crude. I'm sure they would have perfected it. Now, making lenses and a telescope useful for astronomy purposes requires a level of expertise and precision probably undiscovered by the ancients, although it's good to keep an open mind on the subject. Well, if they're using it to look at the sky, obviously they can see what they're looking at good enough, well enough. Now, telescopes are generally accepted to have been invented only in the 16th century by Dutch spectacle makers, even though there's evidence of these instruments being conceived of much earlier. Philosopher Roger Bacon, 1214 to 1294, for instance, gave a proposal for a telescope in his masterpiece Opus Majus, and it says, "For we can so shape transparent bodies and arrange them in such a way with respect to our sight and objects of vision, and the rays will be reflected and bend in any direction we desire, and under any angle we wish. We may see the object near or at a distance, so we might also cause the sun, moon, and stars in appearance to descend here below." End quote. Bacon subsequently was imprisoned for his heretical views and indulging in magical practices, and it was only towards the end of the Renaissance here in the 17th century that Europe and the scientific revolution ensued, that modern telescopes started being used to study the night sky. Well, obviously, from what we have here, the ancient pottery of 500 BC obviously is evidence that they used telescopes. And I would say not only the portable ones, the little ones that they carry with them, but I'm sure they had much stronger ones that were big enough to see deeply into the stars. And let's not forget, in conclusion, the result of the Antikythera device, which was keeping track of the movement of the constellations. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.